Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. So my name is Andrew Young and I wanted to take a moment tonight to review the new record from American trap rapper Travis Scott. This album is called ASTROWORLD. So those of you who aren't really too familiar with Travis Scott is a trap rapper from Houston, Texas, who has become incredibly popular over the past few years. He released a few successful mixtapes like Days Before Rodeo, and also a few successful albums in Rodeo and Birds in the Trap Sig McKnight. And so coming off the success of these past mixtapes, Astroworld was something that was very highly anticipated by fans and critics alike, wanting to see the direction that Travis Scott would go next with his career. These first two albums kind of put him on a pedestal on his way to superstardom, and Astroworld was really his chance to kind of tee off and put himself up in the upper echelon of rappers, trappers that have really kind of made their mark on history. And so this record was really an opportunity for Travis Scott to really kind of make a name for himself in not only the position now of best rappers on the planet, of best artists and most popular influential artists on the planet, but of all time. And so for me, this was a very exciting album to review. So prior to the release of this album, we got actually two singles, only one of which came from the album, and the first was called Butterfly Effect. Butterfly Effect was released about a year ago, and when it first came out, people were initially kind of confused. Was it going to be on Astroworld? Was it going to just be a standalone single? Because it had just pretty much come off the heels of Birds in the Trap Sig McKnight. And that song was a smash hit. As a college student, that played in pretty much every single party I went to in college last year. It was a really big song for the trap community, for the rap community. And people really didn't know that it was going to be on this record coming up. Also, a second song was put out called Watch, and this song featured Lil Uzi Vert and Kanye West. And surprisingly enough, that song actually isn't on this record. And looking back on it, having listened to the whole cohesive experience with this record, I can say I think that was for the good. I think that was a good move to not include Watch on Astroworld, because it kind of deviates from the idea of Astroworld. And I'm going to get into this in a second, is that Astroworld is a very experimental album that's kind of a mixed bag between bangers per se and experimental tracks along the lines of Kanye West and Kid Cudi's Kids See Ghosts, or something that, you know, XXXTentacion tried to do on his 17 project. And so Watch was really kind of a more or less standard trap song that featured a verse from Lil Uzi, featured a verse from Kanye West in the midst of his controversy with the Donald Trump tweets. It featured, and ultimately it just kind of featured some generic lyrics about, you know, look at my rollie, look at your rollie, different stuff like that. It was a big hit when it came out, but ultimately it didn't push the envelope, and so for that reason I can see why it wasn't necessarily included in this album. The opening track to this record, Stargazing, starts this album off on a bang and really presents the album with a great starter that enters us into this concept of Astroworld, into this overall idea and overarching theme of a theme park, because it's based off of Astroworld, which was a theme park in Houston, Texas, prior to being closed down. And so coming into this album, you're presented with this whole array of sounds, and you're almost kind of entering this space Travis wants you to enter in. And I can see a lot of how it symbolizes a theme park in the sense that you've got experimental sounds, you've got banger sounds, and they all come together to kind of create a cohesive piece, a lot like an amusement park would. And so I think Stargazing does a really good job of pushing the listener into that environment and saying, hey, come into Astroworld, get ready for the ride you're about to be on, this is the first track. And I think as a result, it produces a great single ready, song ready for Rap Caviar playlists on Spotify, ready to be played at parties, and it's just an overall really up-tempo, good way to start this record. So like previous releases that Travis has put out, one thing I really want to note here is the production on this record. I think Travis Scott is one of those artists that's really important on creating an ethereal, atmospheric environment, which is obvious in kind of his theme of Astroworld, this amusement park idea surrounding him. And I think this album is really kind of completed by his production choices, his features, the way he pushes these songs on the envelope. And so immediately one of the strongest ways that you see him branching out is on the song Stop Trying to Be God, which is a song that finds him possibly one of the most experimental songs of his whole career, including different sounds from Western United States music, and it just creates for a trap song that becomes something of itself. It's transcending a genre, it's pushing into Western, it's pushing into this alternative vibe that reminds me a lot of the fantastic Kids See Ghosts record. So another thing I had going into this album, one of my concerns initially is that, like many trap songs that I've found nowadays, is that this album will kind of lean on its features and focus too much on the features that ultimately don't really do anything for the cohesive piece. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that this wasn't the case on Astroworld. As a matter of fact, every single feature kind of overall creates for the direction of the record. It contributes to the overall place that Travis Scott is trying to go. And I think that's something that's great. For example, on the song Sicko Mode, Drake provides a really great ethereal kind of verse at the end of the song. And that is another song actually where we get phenomenal production. That song starts off with one beat and switches over to another and totally changes the vibe of the whole song. It teases the listener, it gets them ready for one type of song with an intro Drake verse, then you get Travis, and then you get Drake's final verse in the song. And so it's stuff like that with the feature coming into an ethereal vibe, you've got the production coming into an ethereal vibe, and it ultimately creates for this really kind of cohesive song that I think isn't just staying in its lane, and it's pushing the boundaries of trap and ultimately transcending the genres. Like I said, the features really do these songs justice on this record. One of my favorite songs on the album is called NC-17, and 21 Savage actually provides a really great verse on this song, which I wasn't expecting because I'm not really a huge fan of 21 Savage, and he actually produced one of the funniest and most interesting bars of Travis Scott's career, and it said, "Nutted on her cheek, call her babyface." So, although kind of random and not really in a context, I thought 21 Savage's little kind of wit there kind of added something cool and a nice little bar in that song. But overall, that song was really kind of influenced by production as well. And it's just another way that production and features all kind of come together to contribute to an album and not take away from it. So anyways, I wanted to keep this thing short as it also is my first review on this channel. I wanted to see if it was something I'd enjoy doing, and I really have. So ultimately, closing my opinion on this album, I thought Astroworld was actually a really pleasant surprise and is in my running for album of the year. I really enjoyed this album a lot, as a matter of fact, and I was really kind of taken aback by how much I enjoyed hearing everything Travis has built in his career kind of come to here, and I'm really excited to just see how this album kind of pushes Travis Scott into the next phase of his career, puts him into a new phase of superstardom, seeing what he's gone through this year personally, you know, becoming a father, and seeing how his old musical roots come here and how he addresses those in his lyrics and how he takes the production and grows in that way. It's just really, it's a really great collection of growth from Travis Scott. And so I'm really excited to see where he goes from here. Overall, if I had to rate this thing, I would give it an A-, and I would say it's in the running for my album of the year. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you guys enjoy this record. Jam it, it's got a bunch of great songs. It's a long record at 17 tracks, but it never feels bloated. This is the record we wanted from Travis Scott, and it is worth the hype. So definitely go check it out. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.